So I've decided to rank every single Defqon 1 anthem ever released, and I can assure you, somebody's gonna get pissed today. I hope at the end of the day that we're all gonna respect other people's opinions. That's not gonna happen, but it's at least worth a shot. A lot of people, when ranking things, usually use a scale from A to F, A being the best, F being the worst, but since I'm not American, I don't use burgers per eagle. I'm just gonna stick with using the scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the worst, 10 is the best, and everything above 6 is a pass. Starting off all the way back in 2003, we've got 30 Minutes, which is a very basic anthem, but like, it's good, it's a classic, it doesn't have many complex sounds, but that reverse bass is so good, so I'll give it a 7. Next up, we've got Demolition from the year 2004, and it's a very good anthem because it's got the vocal, which was then reused by Technoboy, Toonboy and DJ Isaac for their track Control. And also we've got a melody which is complex, which isn't something that people in 2004 were used to. Like, melodies used to be basic and repetitive, while this feels very avant-garde and ahead of its time, so I'll definitely give it a 9. Emergency Call by The Prophet was the first track to actually be released as an official anthem, yet somehow it feels less of an anthem than the 2 tracks that I already mentioned. It's not really my taste, I mean that it's not a bad track, but I'm still giving it a 6. Showtek, Color of the Heart of Stars. That's the definition of an anthem. Especially it's got a lot of energy, it's got an unforgettable melody. I mean, a lot of people know this one even today. And I actually listen to this one daily, especially the second climax, because it's quite underrated for me. It's even better than the first. I mean, every part of the song is perfect, so I'm definitely giving it a 10. In 2007, we had Brennan Hart, Get Wasted. And I mean, coming from the Color of the Heart of Stars, it's hard to replicate the success it had, but it's still not a bad anthem. I think it's a bit underrated. Maybe the Blade Masters remix is more famous than the original version, but I still think that it's quite good, or at least deserving of a 7. Next up, we have Biological Insanity by Deepak and Luna. Here's where I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, because it's not bad, it's got a very good and symphonic break, but then it just devolves into a chaotic melody. It doesn't feel as consistent as it should have been. It feels like stitching 2 songs that don't have anything to do with each other, and it would have been even better if it was consistent all the way. So yeah, I can't give it any higher than a 5. From 2009, the Australian version of Defqon 1 was introduced, so from now on we're gonna have 2 anthems per year, the Australian one and the Dutch one. Starting off with Zenny, Maximum Force. This is a good anthem, like it's really got a summery vibe to it, and it's got an amazing melody and an atmospheric and energizing break. This is how you do an anthem. Deepak and Luna, take notes. This is an 8. And this brings me to Scrap Attack by Headhunters, and well, I mean, there must be a reason why it's still relevant today. The melody, the energy, such a perfect execution for an anthem. 10 out of 10. Headhunters also made the 2010 Australian anthem Save Your Scrap for Victory, and it feels like it's the cheap copy of Scrap Attack because it's got a lot of recycled elements, for example the lead, the kick, and the main difference is that this one is more cheerful, more joyful and less majestic, well, as all the other Australian anthems. So this one isn't bad, it's just worse compared to Scrap Attack, so for me it's a 7. No Time to Waste by Wild Styles is my favorite Defqon 1 anthem of all time. It's such a good melody for me, it's got a very anthem-like feel to it, also combined with Wild Styles style, so for me it's a 10, no doubt. Going forward to 2011, we've got Tone Shifter's Psychedelic Wasteland. It's not so well designed anthem sound-wise. I mean, it's got a lot of detached sounds that just make the track feel a bit skippy, so not for me. It's a 5. On the Dutch side instead, we've got Noise Controllers Unite, which is a very solid anthem. It's got a very good melody, well, just like every anthem from 2009 to like 2013. But the lead sound on the drop is what makes me feel like I'm losing a bit of the power and the emotion of the anthem. It feels a bit hollow to me, so I'm only giving it an 8 just for this. Skipping forward to 2013, we've got True Rebel Freedom by Wild Styles, and it's easily anthem worthy. I mean, the melody is powerful and it's danceable from the beginning to the end. It's a 9 for me. Word of Madness is one of the best anthems ever, not just Defqon, ever. It's perfect. Everything down to the last minute details. You want energy, it's got it. You want power, it's got it. You want emotion, it's got it. It's got everything that an anthem needs. It's a 10, no doubt. In 2012, we had Brennan Hart Scrap the System, and it has got a melody that I am really fond of, paired with some nostalgic sounds, but the reverse bass in the first drop to me feels kinda so I'm giving this one an 8 as well. And also, Weekend Warriors is a very good anthem. I mean, I even used it as my ringtone for a long time before my family made it change because, well, they're not hardstyle fans. I demand justice for my ringtone. Still though, it's a very energetic anthem, so I'm giving this one a 9 as well. Code Black's Unleash the Beast. It's classic Code Black, there's nothing wrong with this one, so it's yet another 9. On the Dutch side of things, we have Koen, Survival of the Fittest. No, I mean, the melody is something that isn't energetic or powerful, but it's not even sentimental or emotional. It's not a melody for an anthem, in my opinion. Unleash the Beast is a way better anthem for me, so this one gets a 7. So, in 2015, the Chilean version of the festival was introduced, and it just lasted 2 years because Q-Dance was losing way too much money on this, so they just shut everything down.
It's Chilean.
It's your mom. So the first anthem for this new edition of the festival is Unleash the Beast by Wild Styles. And even though I love the melody because it's just so good, it still feels like less of an anthem than other anthems that Wild Styles did so far, so yeah, I'm giving this one an 8. This year's version of the Defqon.1 anthem was Randy, No Guts, No Glory. This truly is a recognizable anthem, a lot of people know this one, and it's a very good song, dare I say, along with the 2014 Intense anthem, the best Randy song like at all. So this one definitely feels like a 9. Instead, the Australian version of the anthem was Frontliner, Dilitech and 360, which is a rapper. No Guts, No Glory as well. I mean, it feels like it's the cheaper copy of No Guts, No Glory by Randy. And even though I truly like the rap part, it still doesn't hold on to the No Guts, No Glory name. So this one for me is a 7. It's still catchy nonetheless, just not as catchy as the Dutch version. In 2016 we had the whole Dragon Blood theme all the way through the anthems. So the Chilean one, Frontliner, good, a bit generic the melody, but overall not that bad, so I'm giving this one a 7. The Australian one is perfect on every single level. I mean, it's probably the best Australian Defqon.1 anthem for me. The Aussie Lit strikes again, it's a 9. And the Dutch one, good, but completely outclassed by the Australian one, 7. Eye of the Storm by D-Block and Estefan in 2017, and this is where I'm gonna start pissing some people off, because it's not an anthem, it's a song. I mean, it's even shorter than the previous anthems, and it doesn't really do it for me. I'm giving this one a 6, and I'm not sparing the Dutch one either, even if it's Victory Forever by Frequencers, and it's a very good song and I love it so much. For me it's a song, not an anthem. It feels like Defqon and Q-Dance in general really cheesed down the anthems this year. Thank God there was Temple of Light, which was the climax anthem, of which I should do a ranking, who knows. Still, this one is a good song and it's better than the Australian anthem, so I'm giving this one a 7. The 2018 anthem, which was the last Australian one before Sydney just cancelled Defqon, and it just never happened in Australia again because 2 people died of overdose on that edition of the festival. Well, Kun, dedicated to the core. It's a solid anthem, the melody is memorable, it's still feeling like a Kun song rather than a Kun anthem, so I'm giving this one an 8. Instead, on the Dutch side of things, we have the Project 1 anthem, Maximum Force, which was very debated online everywhere because a lot of people are saying that even more it's a song, not an anthem. I mean, we've got a bit of the anthem aspect back because it's similar to the Project 1 style, but it's still not enough, especially because it was the return of Project 1 to hardstyle. They needed to come out with something great, they didn't, but at least this is saved by the fact that it's still a decent song by itself, so I'm giving this one a 6. 2019 was a very experimental year for Defqon 1 because Q-Dance decided to have 3 different artists make their own version of the anthem, which was all called One Tribe, and then combine them into one mega anthem. I'm going to talk about the different anthems separately here. The future noise part of the anthem was magical because we had a very good first drop, but then a superb second drop that got lost in the mega anthem. And why? But well, this one is a 10, no doubt. And I'm giving a 10 to Caltech's version of the anthem as well, because the mid intro was perfect, yet it got lost in the mega anthem again, like, why? But then the climax was done perfectly, so there's no complaints about that, and it's another 10. It's very similar to Caltech's style, but it's anthemified, and in a good way. And then we have Cepha, which made the first Defqon 1 Frenchcore anthem, and he was just 18 when he made it. So it's another very good song, yet I feel like the last drop kind of ruined it, but it's still perfectly executed, so I'm giving this one a 9. In 2020 we had D-Block and Estefan making Primal Energy, which was a fantastic anthem. I mean, for example, I was singing a melody the other day and I couldn't remember the song, but I remembered the melody, and it was this one. Like, this is how good the anthem was and how much I liked it. Unfortunately, we all know what happened in 2020, so it felt a bit lost between all the things that happened and the Defqon at home and etc. So I'm giving this one an 8. So skipping 2021 because we had no anthem this year. In 2022 we had a remake by still D-Block and Estefan under Ghost Stories. We had Primal Energy, Haunted Grounds, and it's perfect. It's similar to Primal Energy, but it's more darkified as to represent the years we just went through, and oh my god, the hardcore drop at the end, perfect. So I'm giving this one a straight 10. In 2023 we had Sub-Zero Project as the anthem makers. It's been a good anthem. I mean, a lot of people agree that it matched their expectations. It wasn't bad, it wasn't incredibly overwhelming and like something completely revolutionary. It was okay, and I'm giving this one a fairly respectable 7. So that's it. I mean, we had Soundrush announced as the anthem makers for 2024, but we still have no like leaks or well previews or something like that, so I guess we'll have to wait for now.